The Doctor Who universe has given us fans some truly remarkable characters. From fan favourite companions such as Donna and Amy to the Doctor himself, there are a lot of great characters to consider when talking about the best character in the Doctor Who universe. However, there is one particular character who stands out to me. One character who has the most compelling journey, the most character growth, and who I find to be consistently the most engaging to watch. And that is...
Yeah, that'd be me.
Yes, Dr. Owen Harper. For those of you who don't know, Owen Harper was a member of the Torchwood team. Quick heads up, full spoilers for Torchwood from here on in. Owen Harper appears in season 1 and 2 of the show before his death at the end of season 2. Today I'm going to be taking a critical look into the character of Owen Harper to discover what makes him the greatest character in the Doctor Who universe. When we first meet Owen in season 1, he isn't the most likeable of characters. He's quite funny, but his main purpose in the first few episodes is to cause character conflict amongst the group. He agitates Gwen, makes jokes that aren't always very appropriate, and basically he's there to keep the dynamic varied amongst the team. I'll be honest, I didn't really like him all that much in the first 2 episodes, but I should point out that he isn't annoying. He does agitate some of the characters, and we see that he isn't the most likeable character in the group, but the show never makes the viewer actively dislike Owen, which I think was a very wise decision. By the time we reach episode 3, Owen gets his first opportunity to shine, and it is truly something special. In the episode Ghost Machine, Owen witnesses the sexual assault of a woman from 45 years ago. Once this vision of the past ends, we learn that he wasn't just watching, but he felt all the emotions the woman felt. He seems visibly distressed by what he saw and felt, but what stands out to me is the line, "I couldn't help her." Owen is a doctor, and consistently we see that despite his many flaws, he just wants to help people. Furthermore, when he can't, it affects him deeply, and this establishes his core motivation. He is a doctor because he wants to help people. After witnessing this assault, he tracks down the man who committed the assault. Owen becomes fixated on finding him while the rest of the team are focused on other things. This has clearly affected Owen very deeply. I think this is very important groundwork being laid for Owen's character, as we see much more of this kind of character trait from him in the future. This is always something I wanted to see more of in Doctor Who. Usually big things will happen to the characters and then the next week it isn't spoken about again. With Torchwood, the events feel like they have consequences, and the show will gladly devote whole episodes to explore the aftermath of previous episodes. When Owen does find the man who committed the assault, he makes it blatantly clear that he knows what happened. I love how Owen seems so angry, like he's trying to contain this urge to attack. This does a great job establishing Owen as somebody who has a strong sense of right and wrong, but his methods don't always line up with the rest of the team. He acts on emotion and not logic. He doesn't think things through. He does the wrong things but for the right reasons. This is shown by how the man is paranoid and he has tried to commit suicide on multiple occasions. Rather than waiting, Owen goes straight into the man's house and as a result may have caused his death. However, at the end of the episode, the man is stabbed. I initially thought Owen would just let this happen, but we see that core motivation to help people come through. The revenge fades away and we see he tries to save him. This tells us so much more about Owen. We see that no matter what you have done, Owen believes you do not deserve to die. He believes that you should get what you deserve, but he will always try to save anybody from death. The idea of saving anybody really comes into play in season 2. The next time the focus is put on Owen is in the episode Out of Time. In this episode, 3 people from 1953 end up in present-day Cardiff. Owen and a pilot named Diane end up in a relationship together, and Owen seems genuinely happy. For somebody who's previously been characterised as a typical masculine womanizer, it's so nice to see in this episode how much these relationships mean to him. It completely changes how you see him. His relationships with other people are really important to him, but he just makes it seem like they aren't. This episode is when Owen became my favourite character. It showed how all of the comments he makes that seem cruel or inconsiderate are just him building up this barrier because he's actually dealing with a lot and doesn't want to let anyone in. We get more context for this when we find out his fiancée died before he joined Torchwood. As a result, he doesn't let people in as easily anymore, but also has found an appreciation for the connections he has with people. At the end of this episode, Diane makes an attempt to get back to her own time and leaves Owen behind. He is understandably left feeling the relationship meant nothing to her, and then we get episode 11, Combat. In this episode, a group of people are taking weevils and have formed a club where people fight weevils. This episode is the perfect follow-on from the previous episode, as Owen is an absolute mess. He hasn't been coming into work, he's been going out drinking and seems a bit broken. Eventually he returns to work and starts helping with the investigation. It becomes very clear that they need to infiltrate this club, and all the Torchwood team have been seen by these people, except Owen. So he goes undercover and finds out what's happening. However, then he is confronted by the leader of the group. He wants Owen to go into the cage with the Weevil, and he does. He steps inside and closes his eyes. The Weevil attacks him and almost kills him before Jack saves him. We later learn that he finally felt at peace and didn't want saving. He no longer feared death. This episode is so brutal to watch, and you can't help but feel sorry for Owen. I also think this episode does a great job establishing that the rest of the team don't really understand him. He keeps them all at arm's length when it comes to how he feels. This, as a character flaw, is absolutely genius because it's so relatable. This is the last Owen episode of Season 1, and for me, all the episodes this season are simply laying the groundwork for Season 2. They give you all the information you need about Owen so that Season 2 really sticks the landing for Owen's journey. And it paid off. For the first 5 episodes of Season 2, there is no real focus put on Owen, but when we get to episode 6, we get the Owen trilogy. The first episode is called Reset, a fairly normal episode actually. The team are trying to solve a series of strange murders linked to an alien bug. The most notable thing about this episode is the return of Martha Jones. However, just when you think it's all over, when we're all in the clear, Owen is shot and dies. This is episode 6, we aren't even halfway into the season and a member of the team is dead. This really threw me off and showed that Torchwood wasn't afraid of taking risks. The next episode is called Dead Man Walking. In this episode, Owen is resurrected by Jack, but he brought something back with him. Death. Owen is slowly being taken over by death itself, but that isn't the most interesting thing in this episode. The best parts are of Owen dealing with the fact that he's alive but not quite as he was. The resurrection could end at any point, and what's worse is he's basically just frozen. I love the idea that his resurrection isn't permanent. It leads to one of the best conversations in the show.
You take these things for granted. It's only when they're slipping away you realise how amazing they are. This could be the last time I see these flecks or, feel these bricks underneath my hands.
Only in suffering do we recognise beauty.
Yeah. Who said that?
Proust.
You've read Proust.
Yeah. Well, no. We dated for a while. He was really immature.
None of us know whether to take you seriously when you say those things.
If you'd lived as long as I have, you don't make any more up.
You've got forever. I could have seconds. Hardly seems fair.
It isn't. But then, forever's overrated.
Not from where I'm sitting.
If you've got forever, you don't notice the flecks on the concrete or bother to touch the bricks. You send your friends into danger knowing the stakes aren't the same for you, that you might get them killed while you walk away unscathed.
Why did you bring me back? Guilt?
No, that's not why.
Then why did you? Really?
Because I wasn't ready to give up on you. I guess I was hoping for a miracle. And I still am.
The climax of the episode is Owen stopping death. He faces him alone because he has nothing to lose. He's already dead. I love this idea, and for me, nobody in Torchwood or Doctor Who could pull this off but Owen. We have seen him endure and cope with so much and always survive. He even died, and yet he still has to keep going. The idea that he really has nothing left to lose is heartbreaking, but also works so well here, and what's amazing is he still comes out on top. Then we get to what I believe to be the best episode for Owen and Torchwood in general, A Day in the Death. This episode is basically the aftermath of Owen's return and him learning to live with it. What I love about this episode is that he's alive but he isn't living. The team all see him as fragile and a moment away from breaking. He feels without purpose, and it's almost like grief, like he's mourning who he used to be. What's interesting is he still builds this wall around himself, never showing how much this has affected him or asking for help. But it isn't all doom and gloom. This episode is about the return of Owen. We've seen him traumatised, abandoned, almost killed, and then actually killed. This episode, however, really breaks down that wall that he's built up. We learn so much about Owen here. We see that what he really desires is purpose. He wants something to carry on for. We've seen him endure so much and keep going. Now we know that all he wants is a reason to keep going. This connects everything we know about Owen. The fact that he became a doctor to save people, his search for a partner, and even his reason for joining Torchwood. He wants his life to mean something, to have a purpose.
Why did you become a doctor?
I thought if I could save one life, mine would be worthwhile.
This makes the idea that he had nothing to lose so much more impactful. He really believes he has nothing worth living for. And then he finds something. This is done through an incredible scene. Owen is sent on a mission to find out what this strange energy source is. When he finds it, it seems like a bomb that will kill him. He holds it in an attempt to contain the explosion, and then we get an absolutely incredible moment. Owen talking to a girl named Maggie Hopper who wants to kill herself. This is one of my favourite scenes in television of all time. All he needed was a glimmer of light, just a reminder that it's not all darkness, that sometimes life's worth it. What makes this scene even better is that he saves this girl by showing her this too. The girl mirrors Owen and his state of mind. By having her there, we see how much Owen has grown and changed. She believes she has nothing to live for in the same way he did, but all it takes is a reminder that there was always something worth living for. This is what makes Owen the best character in all the Doctor Who universe, because his defining moment is him confronting his emotions. He's not saving the world or halting an invasion. He faced his own monsters, his own insecurities, and he won. He found what he was looking for. He's showing this one person how precious her life is. After everything that's happened to him, all that he's lost, all that he's seen and endured, after all that time keeping his pain inside, after feeling like he had nothing worth carrying on for, he finally finds purpose and closure. He finally found his glimmer of light. Dr. Owen Harper finds out his purpose is to save people, and his life means something. Finally, we get his death in the Season 2 finale. At this point, I feel his character arc has been resolved, so I really wasn't sure how they would write a satisfying resolution for Owen's story, and somehow they do. Owen is sent to deal with the situation in the nuclear power station. Cardiff has no power, so the cooling systems at the power station aren't working. If Owen fails, it's the end of the world. If he succeeds, then he saved the world. He does manage to stop the reactor meltdown and he saved the world, but he gets trapped in the station and the radiation causes him to decay. This ending is so impactful because his character arc has been resolved. After 2 seasons, he finally found what he was looking for, and now he's going to die. You see him shouting in the face of his inevitable demise because it's so frustrating. Can you imagine searching for something your whole life, and then when you finally get it, you lose it immediately after? This death scene is tragic, but at the same time, it's really heroic. He saved the day, and what's more, he finally got what he wanted before the end. He found his purpose, and he went out doing what he was always meant to be. He saved everyone. Owen is an incredibly written character. He takes a while to grow on you, but once you really understand him, you realise he's the most complex and interesting character in all of Doctor Who. He has such a relatable story. Everyone at some point in their lives has searched for meaning in their life. By making that Owen's core goal, you get a character that viewers can easily relate to. He also goes through absolute hell. I would say he endures more than any character in the Doctor Who universe, and it shows. Like I previously said, I'm always disappointed by the lack of consequences for characters in Doctor Who, and Owen for me is the perfect way to handle emotional consequences. He reacts to scenarios in a way that feels real and genuine, and he doesn't get over things like they're nothing. He takes time to process and heal from what's happened to him, and at the end of it all, I love that he gets what he's searching for. It's not necessarily a happy ending, but it's a satisfying one. Seeing him find a purpose in life is such a well-earned conclusion for his journey over the 2 seasons, and seeing him face death one final time, having discovered the meaning to his life, is the perfect way for Owen to leave the show. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit different from what I normally do, but I had fun writing this one. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments, and feel free to let me know if you agree or disagree with my choice for the best character in the Whoniverse. That concludes this video essay, and I'll see you in the next one.